Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Nelly. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I'm feeling good because spring is here, so it's Aries season. So there's a lot for me to celebrate, and I am sending my positive energy your way as always. So today the book that I'm going to be reviewing is called The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. So what is The Silent Patient about? The Silent Patient is the story of this lady named Alicia. She is a painter, a very talented painter, and she's married to a fashion photographer named Gabriel, and he is, very in demand, and they live in a nice neighborhood. So on the outside looking in, they seem to be having what seems to be a very cozy life, right? And then one day, the police is called at their place, and they find Gabriel tied up to a chair with 5 bullets in the head, and they find Alicia standing right next to him, completely silent, not saying a thing. So she has like blood all over her. I think she had cuts all over her arms, and she didn't say anything. So throughout the trial, she still never said a thing. And so she was, convicted for the murder of her husband and sent to a psychiatric unit called the Grove. And so a case like that, of course, will get a lot of media attention, even more so if the person never says anything, right? So a lot of media attention, and it brought a lot more attention to her work as well, because if people were thinking like, okay, well, if she's not speaking, maybe, the answers are in her art and in her paintings, right? So, her work again got a lot of attention. Then you have psychotherapist named Theo. Theo has been fascinated by the case, just like the entire public, but even more so, he became really almost like obsessed. He's like, I really want to find out like what exactly happened that night. And so he applies to the Grove, where she's been staying for 6 years and still hasn't said a word. And he applies there in order to work with her, and thinking that his skills as a psychotherapist could make that girl talk. But as he goes there, he gets hired, by the way. So as he works there, he realizes that, it's not something that's easy. So he starts investigating about, Alicia's entire life. So he finds out more about her childhood, about her family, about her friends. And as he goes into that journey of investigating Alicia's life, he realizes that it's a little scarier than he thinks, so he puts himself in situations that are a little bit spooky, but still he wants to find out more, because things don't seem to be exactly as they are. Because as he finds out more about her life, he realizes that there's a lot of people who could potentially be benefiting from her going crazy. Right? And at the same time, we find out more about Alicia, because she was keeping a diary from before the event all the way up to the night that she killed her husband. So we read a lot of Alicia's journal entries, and with each entry, we get closer to what we want to find out, which is the why. Like, why would you do that? And so the book is written from Theo's perspective, which I would say is like most of the novel, as well as Alicia's journal entries. And it's a really fun book. It's a very much of a page turner, and it's actually pretty dark. That's something that I really love about the writing. So again, the writing is very engaging. It makes you want to find out more and more with each chapter. I appreciate it, by the way, that the chapters are not too long. That's something, one of my biggest pet peeves in books is like really long chapters. It just annoys me so much. So the chapters are not too long, and with each chapter, there's a little bit that makes you want to find out more, that makes you want to like read about the next chapter. Like, he just gives you like a little bit of information until you get to the truth. So that's something that I thought was pretty cool about the writing style of the author. And I really love that he was able to create a lot of like darkness throughout the book. And by darkness, I'm not even talking about just the fact that, I don't know, it's raining outside, but just really, or just the sort of nature of the crime, but just something that I don't know how to explain, like, because every character, if not most characters in that book, is a little sketchy to me. So for me, I was just like looking at that book, looking at everybody suspiciously, and so that's something that I really loved about the author. I love that the book has a lot of metaphors with art and Greek mythology, which is pretty cool for me, because I don't know if I've said that before in previous videos, but I really love when, things are not too spoon-fed to you when you read a book. So that I thought was pretty cool. So because all those metaphors will make you think about different things about life in general, not even just the book in itself. Of course, when it comes to the actual story, it makes you figure out like, oh, so that metaphor, does that mean this in the context of the story. But then as you try to process that, you also think about things about life in general. Because I feel like what I love the most about thrillers is that they allow you to kind of tap into the darker side of the human psyche, the darker side of the human experience, things that we don't necessarily always talk about, you know? The themes that the book touches is like love and the other side of love, you know, because for everything that is beautiful, I feel like there's something that is ugly too. You know, the same way that if you have light, you have darkness. If you have God, you have a devil, at least in my opinion. So for me, it was really fun to kind of explore those themes on both aspects, right? So love is a beautiful thing, obviously, but there's another side of love that can become really ugly as well, right? And I love that also there's that obsession. So we talk about the nature of obsession. Like when you obsess about something, you usually end up finding something that's really messed up, you know? I guess the lighthearted example I have is that, let's say you have a boyfriend and you're like super obsessed about like figuring out like what he's up to, and then you pick up his phone and then you dig through the phone. You're more likely to find something messed up, you know what I mean? So I think it was cool to kind of look at just obsession and also the different types of attachment that somebody has. So there's a lot of things, things that if you read about psychology, if you studied psychology, there's a lot of that in that book as well, and that I thought was cool too. I'm pretty sure I think the author has background in psychotherapy as well. So I think that his background was definitely used, and the knowledge that he has on those subjects was definitely used throughout the book, which I thought was pretty cool. So it's fun to explore themes like themes like love, obsession, attachment, jealousy, or even, but my favorite thing about the entire book is even to look at the aspect of altruism, you know, how a lot of times, you know, people who do good or help others, they seem to be nice, which I think is for the most part. I guess most people are nice. I like to think the best of people for the most part. But there are also people who do good things, but there's something very dark behind it, something very self-serving, So, and that is not really a spoiler, because I think that there's a lot of characters in that book, if not most of them, they have a darker side to them. So, you know, somebody who works at the hospital, you think he's a great guy, but then you realize that he's there, but then there's like, they have their own motives behind it. It's not really about helping people, but it's about, they are helping themselves first within that aspect, if that makes any sense. So I really love all the different themes that the book touches on, and I love that it actually makes you think about a lot of things too. So I highly recommend the book. I have to admit that I figured out the ending before the ending, but that's because I think I read a lot. So, but as if you're someone who reads a lot of thrillers, or if you read a lot in general, you might figure it out before. But I still don't think that it takes much away from the actual experience of reading the book, because at the end of the day, like if you read a lot of thrillers, it's hard to surprise you anymore. So it's more about the how you get to the end that's fun, as opposed to the end in itself. So I don't think that takes away anything from the book. I think it's very interesting. I highly recommend, and I'm just realizing how hard it is to make a book review about a thriller without giving spoilers away. But I think I did a pretty good job. So if you have read the book and you want to discuss that with me, I would love for you to share that with me. I would love to discuss, because I can't say too much besides the fact that I highly recommend the book. So that's pretty much it for my review. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you for my next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like my content. And again, I'll see you next week. Take care.